Caitlin Clark effect is fading in Iowa as 5 schools deliver distressing update. When Caitlin Clark burst onto the basketball scene, breaking records, it felt like Iowa would soon become a breeding ground for a new generation of basketball stars. We envisioned more girls from Iowa stepping onto the court. Well, the story isn't unfolding as we expected. The opposite seems true. Fluid logo. Instead of seeing an uptick in participation, the numbers are actually on the decline at the high school level. Just this year, 5 high schools in Iowa, Clarion Goldfield Douse, Sibley Achiadon, West Sioux, Central City, and Charles City, have decided not to field varsity girls basketball teams. The reason? A stark decline in numbers. These schools either don't have enough players or have rosters dominated by underclassmen who aren't ready for varsity competition. Adeline Howell, a sophomore from Clarion Goldfield Douse, voiced her heartbreak, saying, "Basketball has always been an important part of my life and served as an outlet for me. How is this happening in a state where basketball once ruled supreme and produced athletes like Caitlin Clark?" The Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union IGHSAU has confirmed a steady decline in participation, with about 300 fewer girls playing basketball than 5 years ago. Gary Ross of the IGHSAU pointed out the trend but admitted the organization hasn't pinned down the root causes. It's not just basketball, though. Other sports like football, baseball, and softball are also experiencing dwindling numbers. But in basketball, there's another layer to the problem: lopsided games. Over the past season, more than 30 teams in Iowa ended their nights with an average margin of victory of at least 20 points. No one enjoys being part of a 70-point blowout, neither the winning team nor the losing one. It's discouraging for players, parents, and communities alike. What's more devastating is this comes right after CC's stellar rookie season. It's safe to say that season 2024 of WNBA will go in the books, the reason being the Caitlin Clark effect. The WNBA saw record-breaking numbers. Out of 23 WNBA games that drew over 1 million viewers, Clark played in 20. She's living proof of what Iowa athletes can achieve. Yet, back home, the pipeline seems to be drying up. The Indiana Fever star has arguably done the most for the visibility of women's basketball than anyone else in recent years. But visibility alone isn't enough to sustain participation at the grassroots level. Moreover, do you know Iowa has had a unique basketball culture that was the envy of many states when Caitlin wasn't even born? Long before Caitlin Clark, Iowa was home to a rich legacy of girls basketball. Girls basketball in Iowa dates back to the early 1900s, and by 1920, the state held its first official tournament. Rural communities rallied around their teams with pride, and girls were celebrated as much for their athleticism as for their contribution to community identity. For decades, Iowa played a distinctive 6-on-6 version of basketball, which emphasized teamwork, strategy, and skill. Players like Deb Coates and Kim Peters became legends, their performances earning national attention. The annual Sweet 16 state tournament was a must-watch, drawing sellout crowds to Des Moines, where players were treated like royalty. It was a tradition steeped in respect and reverence for the game. But times changed. In the 1970s, Title IX expanded athletic opportunities nationwide, and Iowa eventually transitioned to the more conventional 5-on-5 game. While this opened doors for opportunities, it also marked the end of an era. But what's next? How does a state with such a rich tradition turn things around? Perhaps the key lies in reigniting the community spirit that once made Iowa girls basketball so special. Caitlin Clark may be the face of the sport right now, but the future depends on the next generation finding the same love for the game and a place to play.